another Wednesday edition of Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits, right here on ESPN Wisconsin. I'm Alex Strouf with you. Not from the Gruber Law Offices, one call that's all studios at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Not from the Everlight Solar Studio in beautiful downtown Madison. I am live from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana for the 2024 Big Ten Football Media Days, day 2 of 3 today. The last day I will be here as Wisconsin had their time to play in the sun yesterday, day 1 of 3 here at Big Ten Media Days. We'll talk observations a little bit later. I had the opportunity to sit down with all 3 players that were here. The pride of Stoughton, offensive tackle Jack Nelson, the senior offensive lineman for the Badgers. Also talked with inside linebacker Jake Chaney and star safety Hunter Wohler yesterday. Also had a good 15-minute sit-down with the athletic director, Chris McIntosh, which you will hear on the audio side, Friday's version of Mr. Irrelevant, presented by Door County Distillery. I took the day off on Friday, so we're going to hit you with a couple of interviews in the podcast feed on Friday. But good to be here with you on this Wednesday. Lots to get into. Obviously, the drama continues with Jordan Love, the Green Bay Packers quarterback, as his hold-in continues up in Green Bay. He's at practice. He's the first one in the building, but no deal reached yet. And it's seeming like this might take longer than even I anticipated. Yep, Mr. Poo-Poo, the guy that said, hey, man, there's no problem here. They're going to get it figured out. They're going to get it done. Deal's going to be done, and this will end early. So we'll get into the hold-in a little bit. Packers all-time leading rusher, two-time national champion at Nebraska, Ahman Green, will join us in person here at Big Ten Media Days in about 15 minutes. We'll talk Packers. He's got a couple stories from contract disputes himself, as well as a ton of other things with Ahman Green. So he'll join us in about 10 minutes here from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Always good to catch up with the Packers all-time leading rusher, Ahman Green. I mentioned we'll talk a little Badgers later. I'm also in a predicament here on a Wednesday night, so we'll get into that before we wrap up the show on ESPN Madison on YouTube, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube, ESPN Madison on Facebook, and, of course, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Wisconsin On Demand. Just search Mr. Irrelevant will be the first result that pops up. So, as I mentioned off the top, the big story is still around the Packers quarterback, Jordan Love, who's continuing his hold-in up in Green Bay, not practicing, but has reported for training camp. The news was announced on Monday as we were up in Green Bay for day 1 of training camp that his agents told General Manager Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball, who's in charge of finances and contracts, that until a deal is reached, he will not hit the practice field. And as I said Monday all day in our special 2-hour edition, I get it. It's the right decision. You are making the right move for yourself. You are making the right move in terms of, making sure you can secure your bag, making sure you get the money that you deserve as likely the highest paid quarterback in the entire NFL, at least in terms of an annual average value. So when it comes to Love's decision-making, I agree with that. But when it comes to what the heck is taking so long, I wish we knew that answer, because we way back 2.5 months ago, May 3rd, was the day that Jordan Love was eligible for a contract extension. It is now July 24th. It has been over 2.5 months since Love was eligible for a massive extension, and still nothing has been done. So it almost makes me think that talks really didn't heat up until a week ago when the pressure was on. Jordan Love reported at training camp 1 week ago today, and I feel like that's when talks heated up. But in the meantime, to me, it doesn't seem like a lot of progress has been made. I imagine, we always say 2 things can be true, right? On one side of the coin, Jordan Love's camp is probably asking for the world, right? Highest paid quarterback year over year, a bunch of guaranteed money, probably a 4 or 5 year deal. They're going to want maybe shorter term, so maybe a 3 or 4 year deal. And, they have these demands. And when it comes to the Green Bay Packers, they probably want to keep it under $55 million a year, probably keep that lower than maybe they want, or maybe than Jordan Love's camp wants. And they're just struggling to find the middle ground. And it's just frustrating at this point, because I think by this point, we're in practice 3 right now, is in the books, just got wrapped up in Green Bay. Practice 3, Jordan Love's not taking part. And we're going to get to the point later this week where the shoulder pads go on and the shells go on, and we're going to be full go on 11 on 11. And if Jordan Love isn't participating, that's a little irritating to me. Now, as I've made the case in the past with Aaron Rodgers missing OTAs, right? OTAs in May and June, I never thought that was detrimental to the Green Bay Packers' success in the upcoming season. Jordan Love missing a few practices is not detrimental to the Green Bay Packers 2024 season. But if this thing lingers into August, that's going to start taking wins off the board. That is going to start taking chemistry away from the first-team offense. Because, look, Sean Clifford, fine, right? Penn State is here today at Big Ten Media Days, so I better speak kindly of their former quarterback, Sean Clifford. But you don't want Sean Clifford taking first-team reps as we get deeper and deeper into training camp. You need Jordan Love to continue to mesh with the Jaden Reeds and the Dontavian Wickses of the world and the Romeo Doubs and the Christian Watson of the world. It's a great opportunity for Sean Clifford. But do you really want Sean Clifford taking those first-team reps? Of course not. So it's getting to the point where I'm starting to get a little frustrated. Also on top of that, of course, if you tuned in last Wednesday, Josh DiMaggio and I made a bet that by end of business, so 5 o'clock Central, today, loser buys lunch. I said the deal would be done by end of day today, so I'm also a little bit irritated about that. But, yeah, I think you have a right as a Packers fan to be frustrated as this thing continues to linger on. So I'm curious on your thoughts on the ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee YouTube chats. We go back to the Everlight Solar Studio where producer Tiny Hands Hunter Vaughn is. Hunter, I just – and I know you're about to experience this with CeeDee Lamb down in Dallas, but I just view this one obviously different because he's going to be the highest-paid quarterback, and he's there. It's a hold-in, which means he can't get fined, right? The old Marshawn Lynch adage. I'm just here so I don't get fined. But when it comes to Love, I'm starting to get frustrated, Hunter. I just wish they would get this thing done.
Yeah, but, you mentioned CeeDee Lamb. It could be worse. Love could not be there, and now you've got all of the internet that loves to relish in the demise of the Cowboys, saying that this is amazing, this is awesome, they're imploding. Like, even though usually wide receivers are going to hold out, and I think there is some history of, quarterbacks maybe trying to do the hold in and still be a part of things and still be involved because they understand that's a different dynamic when it's a quarterback or a receiver to the rest of the team. It's also a personality thing. But I was also wondering for you, do you think it's more likely that the reason that there hasn't been a lot of ground since May 3rd, as far as these talks go, do you put that more on the Packers? Or was this Jordan Love in his camp saying, you know what, we don't want to, put a whole lot into it right now, he's going to go and get engaged, that kind of a thing, and that they kind of kept the Packers away from it? Because I feel like one of those two, either the Packers didn't try hard enough or Jordan Love in his camp kind of kept the Packers away for a while.
Yeah, I would guess it's probably the latter, right? You want to hold off because, and rightfully so for Jordan Love's camp, you want to wait for the Jared Goff deal to get done. You want to wait for the Trevor Lawrence deal to get done. And to be quite honest with you, Hunter, they might now be waiting for the Tua Tagovailoa deal to get done to see how much the Dolphins pay him, whether or not that works in their favor. I still think Jordan Love is more accomplished and a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa, so he's going to get more money than Tua. But if Tua signs for, let's say, $55 million a year, that only makes the price for Jordan Love go up. So I wouldn't be shocked if they are, kind of holding out hope here. Jordan Love's camp, that is, that the Tua deal gets done in the next few days, and then all of a sudden they have more leverage. Love being there is the part that is interesting to me, right? Because and I saw a video circulating yesterday when it was downpouring at Ray Nitschke Field in Green Bay. It was downpouring, and Love's just standing in the middle of the field, no umbrella, no care in the world, just wearing his long-sleeve T-shirt and getting poured on while giving Michael Pratt, the Tulane rookie quarterback, some pointers on how to best operate the offense. So nobody can question his dedication. Nobody can question that he cares about the team. Nobody can question whether or not he's a good teammate. It's just, hey, I would feel a little bit better about training camp starting and the football season being here if Jordan Love was on the practice field, right? It's as simple as that. And, Monday it was kind of fun. It was like, ooh, they're really going to rush to a deal now. And here we are 48 hours plus later, and they haven't rushed to a deal. It doesn't sound like they've made up any ground, and it really doesn't sound to me like we're any closer than we were 48 hours ago. So how long is this thing going to take is the question that bothers me, Hunter, because I really thought when Brian Gutekunst took the podium on Monday and said, hey, they told us he's not going to practice until we get a deal done. I thought that meant, okay, it's time to crack down. Let's give him what he wants. Let's get him on the practice field. Let's get this thing rolling because we are a team. And I've heard it even more this week, Hunter, in national commentary, that people really believe the Packers could be a Super Bowl contender in 2024. They could be a team competing for a Super Bowl in 2024. While I have high expectations as a fan, I don't know if I'd go that far, right? Like, I think they could be in the NFC Championship game. I think they could be competing for an NFC North title. I think they can win 12 games and be a high seed in the NFC. I don't know if I'm ready to say they're Super Bowl good, but the national commentary around us is, hey, this is a team that is Super Bowl good. This is a team that could really represent the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. And as we get further and further into training camp and we're taking more and more reps away from Jordan Love and an opportunity to mesh and gain chemistry with those wide receivers, get on the same page so you don't have a repeat of last year's early season blunders, that makes me a little nervous. And again, I don't think it's going to be detrimental. They'll have a deal done by Brazil. They'll have things figured out. But today is day 3 of open practices. They get a day off tomorrow before getting back at it on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But you've got that first preseason game creeping up. It's only 2 weeks away, and as this thing is, it's really been a week, right? Like Jordan Love reported 7 days ago. And it doesn't seem like they've made any ground, right? No Pretty Rickies, no Adam Schefters, no Ian Rappaport's tweeting that they are gaining ground and getting closer to a deal. It seemed like over the weekend they were close, but ultimately we still don't have pen to paper. And that part is relatively irritating to me. So we will see as it rolls on. Hunter, I guess I'm looking for you to help me out because I feel like I'm losing faith that this thing's going to get done, and for 3 months I've been the guy saying, no worries, it'll get done. Maybe Joshie DiMaggio was right, and I know he texted us once again this morning that maybe he was right all along. I'm not ready to go that far, but he might be onto something that this might take longer than just like hey, haha, you missed the first practice, here's a bunch of money now. Like I don't think it's that easy of a fix for them. Yeah,
and it's the unfortunate part of the situation Jordan Love kind of found himself in with his career. Because he had a couple of years of sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, and then he finally gets his chance as the starter, and then you only really got those 9 outstanding games from him. It'd be one thing if it was the entire season and he was, every single game or every week he's ending like, oh, he had one of the best quarterback performances in the entire league this week, and he kept stacking that up. But because it's up and down, the Packers are using that against him because that's what happens in contract negotiations.
Of course.
You use every little thing against them that you can. I know
like Corbin Burns in arbitration?
Yes, exactly. I know that the Cowboys are using every single playoff loss against Dak Prescott in his contract negotiation. And they should be. And that's what's happening right now. And that's the battle that they're playing. I think it's mid-August. I think that's where I've put my timeline. I know that's not great if you're a Packer fan, but I have a feeling that they're actually way further apart. My assumption this whole time and this whole offseason had been that, they might be far apart, but both sides understand, hey, Jordan, I've got to get into camp. I've got to be with this team. We can really do something special. I got to figure this out. And then the front office was like, hey, we can do something really awesome this year. We need to not have the drama that we've had in the past and just figure it out and get it done. That's what I thought they were operating under, and it doesn't seem like it, and I think they're both playing chicken now.
I think so, too. Definitely the chicken game, right? Like, that's definitely being played by both sides here. But I just keep going back listening to you. What I said before is I don't think this is detrimental to the Packers season, right? I don't think him sitting out and missing maybe what will I think end up being a week or two of practice, I don't think that happening will make or break whether this is a playoff team. But I do worry that the offense that was on a really, really good or in a really good spot and on a really good page and really rolling at the end of the regular season and into the postseason, I just don't know if that will translate right away if you don't have Jordan Love out on the practice field. I don't know if I have the confidence that, hey, right away they're going to be in fantastic shape. It might look a little bit more like last year than we had hoped from the get-go, where it's kind of up and down. You have your flashes, but you just don't have a four-quarter consistency. Because when you think about it, right, like the Packers didn't have a full good 4 quarters offensively until November last year. He had a couple games where he was good for 2 quarters. And, I remember week 2 against Atlanta, he had 3 good quarters and then completely fell apart. And then in week 3 against the Saints, he had 3 bad quarters and then 1 good one quarter and a comeback win. So, piecing all that together, it's just maybe I'm being too pessimistic. Maybe I'm being too worried about what's going on here. But I am a little bit I'm on the edge a little bit, Hunter, when it comes to this.
The problem then, too, is if they have those struggles early again and they're not consistent because of how long this drags out, then you're going to start getting those questions asked of, well, is this just what this team is? Is Jordan Love not really a consistent quarterback? And then everybody is going to have to answer those questions. That's where I think it can hurt the team.
For sure.
Because if these young guys have to keep answering these same questions over and over again, and it's Jordan Love contract, and then did Jordan Love's contract hinder this team and they lost this game against the Eagles? And then why aren't you guys consistent? Should Jordan have been in practice more? Like, that's all the stuff that you're going to be hearing, and that's going to wear on these guys, and it unfortunately will get into their heads even though they are professionals.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. It should be okay. And maybe we're overreacting and maybe we're playing doomsday a little bit. Maybe I'm becoming you, Hunter. I always refer to you, especially during the football season, as the doomsday fan. Maybe I'm becoming the doomsday fan with this impending contract extension and the ongoing contract negotiations between Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Well, maybe I'm doomsday fan now.
Well, the great news is then, if you are, that when your heart inevitably gets broken, it doesn't hurt quite as much because you were ready for it and you just knew that it was going to happen. So your brain already got there, and then it was just your heart needed a little bit longer to catch up. So that does help when you ultimately get disappointed.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. So a couple other things from training camp. Ahman Green will join us here in a few minutes. He is, looks like, currently speaking with Nebraska head coach Matt Rule, and Ahman Green he does radio daily in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I understand he's tied up with that right now, but we'll have him jumping over here once he's done with Matt Rule. I am really intrigued by a few things that I saw just on Twitter from training camp the last 2 days. So as I mentioned, I got to Indianapolis yesterday. Yesterday morning, I drove over early in the morning and got here about 9 a.m. Local time, so 9 Eastern, 8 Central yesterday. And so I've just been following along on Twitter for days 2 and 3 of practice for the Green Bay Packers. There's a lot of hype yesterday around A.J. Dillon. I know Matt LaFleur spoke highly of him, but also spoke highly of the running back room at large, the pick of Marshawn Lloyd from USC, which is now a Big Ten team. I'm looking at the USC logo there. But the draft pick of Marshawn Lloyd is an interesting one for that room. Obviously, the addition of Josh Jacobs, the former All-Pro, is a big one for that Packers running back room, and he will be the lead horse. But where does A.J. Dillon, who signed the really low contract in the offseason, 1-year deal, no future on that deal. It's just like, hey, come back for 1 year. We'll see what you got. That could mean he might not make the roster. He hit the media yesterday, Hunter, with the quote, "in the best shape of my life," quote, which I think is usually a bad thing in training camp. Because I remember a few years ago, Amari Rodgers said he was in the best shape of his life entering training camp. I just feel like that's a curse in the NFL. If you're a player that's been highly criticized and you come back and say you're in the best shape of your life, that usually doesn't lead to good things, right? Or am I overthinking that one? I can't remember a story of somebody saying I'm in the best shape of my life and it working out.
Yeah, because the problem is he's going to see a big hole in a game, like against the Eagles, and then like Fletcher Cox is going to run him down and catch up to him. And then everyone on Twitter is going to say, I thought you were in the best shape of your life. Yeah. And then you're never going to hear the end of it if you're A.J. Dillon. Just never say what type of shape that you're in, whether it's positive or negative. Like, deflect and go to something else if you're an athlete, because it never works out for you.
No, it doesn't. And I'm worried because I like A.J. Dillon. We all do. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I would imagine we should still view it as he is the backup and Marshawn Lloyd is running back 3. I don't think that will last, but I think that's technically how we should view it, at least in terms of a depth chart right now in Green Bay. One other thing that I saw, and this goes back to the Jordan Love debacle we started the show with, Matt LaFleur said yesterday that the offense needs to catch up to the defense in terms of energy and aggression and sharpness in the first 2 days of practice. Now, there's an obvious reason that the offense is a little bit behind the 8 ball and compared to the defense when it comes to the first 2 days of training camp. Maybe because they don't have their most important player on the field. That might maybe have something to do with it, considering Jordan Love isn't practicing. But I saw Rashawn Gary had a big day yesterday, just completely beating up on the former first-round pick Andre Dillard to go for a quote-unquote sack. Obviously, there's no real sacks in a padless practice, or really in practice at all. But he got to the quarterback and the plays were whistled dead. I think he had 3 sacks and 11-on-11s yesterday. So Rashawn Gary and this new Jeff Hafley defense eating the former first-round pick Andre Dillard alive. Rashawn Gary's interesting to me, Hunter, because I think there are several players on this Packers defense that you're anticipating have a big year, but I don't know that anybody needs to have a bigger year than Rashawn Gary. So we will see, but good news out of Packers camp yesterday. Real quick, got to tell you about my friends from Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, and award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County, whether it's the gin, whether it's the vodka. They've got the cherry collaborations with local Door County cherries. You can check them out, doorcountydistillery.com. For the retailer nearest you and a huge list of unique cocktail recipes, that is doorcountydistillery.com. For my friends at Door County Distillery. Joining us now at Lucas Oil Stadium for Big Ten Media Days, the Packers' all-time leading rusher, the great Ahman Green, with me. What's up, dude?
Hey, well, nothing much. Alex, how you doing?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. I was talking a ton, though, about the holding going on up in Green Bay with Jordan Love.
Yes.
And I'm curious from your perspective, right? Like, you had a long, successful NFL career. As a teammate of a guy like Jordan Love who's trying to get his money, I imagine you're like, yeah, go get your money, dude. We've got your back, right?
Yep.
Like, you're not viewing it as a negative. But I'm worried about the long-term repercussions if this drags on.
I say, like, I've been in that situation. Other players have been, and my thing is like you just said, as long as they get their money. I say for one, if I'm shoes, I'm in their shoes right now in terms of his teammates in that locker room right now. One, he earned it. Mm-hmm. He had one heck of a year that I looking at from distance. I kind of knew it was going to go that way because the way he had sit on the shelf for 3-4 years, almost 4 years, right? It was 3 or 4 years.
3 years.
3 years on the shelf, and I look back in my history of players that I played along with. One guy comes into mind, Dante Culpepper. Mm-hmm. He was with the Minnesota Vikings. He had to sit behind Randall Cunningham and I think Warren Moon, and was his year 4 because we both got drafted in '98. He was a Minnesota Viking then, but he didn't touch the field as a starter until 2000. And then Randy Moss was already there, right?
That worked out all right, yeah.
And then you see how it worked out for Dante too, because their rookie year, like I said, Warren Moon and other quarterback was playing, and then Dante could just sit back and watch, develop. And so I think Jordan having that same time behind Aaron and the other quarterbacks got him to that level. And then he can learn from the mistakes and doesn't have to be right in the meat, the heat of things, where he can mess up and then go back and have some time in practice, watch film, ask more questions either to Aaron. And I know Aaron. I know he was very helpful in development of Jordan. Yeah. And the coaches and all that. So LaFleur having a guy where he's pretty much they just opened the cap at the right time. And that year he had last year, I told people all the time it's going to be an up and down year because he's still a young guy, but he just didn't have a game, like full tilt game experience. He has a ton of practice. He has a ton of preseason games under his belt, but now it's going to start off a little slow, but then eventually it's going to kick in where he's going to have confidence. Mm-hmm. And we saw that probably after the first month, maybe even sooner. It was between that second game to the last game of September of last year, which was, I believe, the Detroit game. After the Detroit game on Thursday Night Football, that's where he kind of like, you know what, I'm getting used to this. Yeah. Even getting through the mistakes, I'm okay because I got time. I got 12, 13 games to go, and every game. And then, we had the injury to Aaron Jones, but then he comes back. Now you got a confident Jordan Love, and then Aaron Jones, who was always, once healthy, along with A.J., a run game that can complement the pass game. And then what I love, along with Jordan, is all these feisty young receivers that are hungry. All those guys doing what they did, the step up to the plate and then make things, I say, interesting for the opposing team, because the opposing team coming in looking at Green Bay's roster, they're like, oh man, we got these young kids, we're gonna chew these guys up and spit them out, and then we're gonna get our dub and go back to Detroit or go back to Minnesota or whatever. And they found out, we gotta play these kids.
Right.
These guys are hungry. They don't have that much experience, but it don't matter.
Yeah.
And so then that's what you want as a teammate, and definitely as a coach, because me as a coach, I'm looking at this, I'm like, I got a whole bunch of competitors. These guys don't fear nothing. I love it. So you know what? Let me just let them loose. Here's the plays. Look, I'm gonna coach you. This is my job. I'm gonna coach you up. Make sure you understand what the play concept is, what the strategy is, what we're doing to a defense, and vice versa. Even the guys on defense as well. What we're gonna do to an offense. I'm gonna just teach you the techniques. Make sure, and then after that, go execute. And because they had the confidence behind them, and so with Jordan, and all the say going back, like fully confidence. He deserves whatever he's waiting for to ask for. And I say hopefully Green Bay could give it to him sooner than later, because then he doesn't miss no time in preseason. And I'm not really worried about the games. It's just practice time.
Yeah, right.
Practice time is the important
opportunity
thing.
to build chemistry. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it's not the on-field stuff come preseason game, because that's more of a slotted system. You got so many plays for the ones are going to do maybe half a series, maybe that in the first game. Yeah. And then the rest of the kids are going to play out there. So I'm looking at not missing a whole ton of practice time. So I believe they got what they need. I mean, I could probably go on the cap. I don't know where the cap is, but I'm saying if they got some room, make some more room, because he deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
He earned it, and for what he did last year is plenty enough for me to say, yeah.
To pay based on potential, right?
100%.
To get that $55 million a year or whatever the outrageous number is these days as the cap continues to go up. But
100%.
He deserves it, right?
He deserves it. He earned it.
So I will give you credit, Ahman. When we caught up last year,
yeah,
you nailed it 100%. You said, yeah, this guy's gonna be good.
Yeah.
You were the first one I had really talked to that was just like fully confident. And it wasn't always pretty, but that kind of comes with the territory, right?
Quarterback is never that first year.
Yeah,
it cannot be pristine, because there's so many moving parts that a quarterback has to learn. What I learned by watching NFL and college quarterbacks develop, I'm like, I see why. Respectfully as a running back, I see why they get paid a lot of money. I mean, they not only got to know what I have to do, they got to know what the O-line audibles and changes are. Yep. So then if they audible a play, what changes between the guard and the tackle and the center, and maybe the tight end. And then also knowing that on the receivers, if we're in trips, we're in double, and it's cover one-man press. If that play we're expecting zone, but it's man press, now what we do? What's the route change? Knowing which DB is the hungry run. It's the ball hawk or it's the hard tackle. They didn't want to go away from knowing he has to do
all of those things in a matter of seconds.
And I'm saying to him, look, for one, as a scientific thing I learned not too long ago, we as men, we don't multitask very good. So if a quarterback can do that, I respect. And it was from day one when I was in Seattle and Warren Moon was doing his thing with me. Then I was just like, quarterback has to know all that stuff.
He knows all that,
and he knows. Oh my! I say, okay, yeah, I get it now. So yeah, it's just much respect to the job, because it's a well detailed job, and for the quarterbacks that own it around the league that are the starters, the 32 I say the 31 starters, and I throw 32 with Jordan being there. They earned it. They know how to. They have the broader shoulders, and then the mental understanding. Like, look, I got to know this stuff, but I want to do it.
Yeah,
and I could get the job done for my team.
Packers all-time leading rusher Ahman Green with me here at Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis. So, Ahman, you're back down in Texas. Obviously, you spent some time in your career with the Houston Texans. Yep. I know you're doing some work with them again, but I think it's funny how they had a rookie quarterback a year ago who lit the world on fire. I think C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love, their careers, I think, are going to be tied together quite a bit, because they're both 100%. On that upward trajectory. And I don't know if you know this off your top of your head, but Houston does visit Lambeau Field this year.
Yes, I knew that.
You making a trip?
We're looking at it right now, because my wife is a Bears fan. And
really? Hold on, time out. You married a Bears fan?
Yes, I'm married. It works.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. It's a figment of people's imagination.
You were with the Packers when you met, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you went into that relationship knowing, hey, you're a Bears fan?
Yeah, but the rule is you have to wear green and gold, and she wore my number twice a year.
Okay.
Yeah, in that game. When that game popped up, she couldn't wear Bear colors when I was playing. Now when I'm playing, she is whatever she want to wear then. Now.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's fascinating.
It works.
You got to be the only one on that team that was dating or married to a Bears fan.
I would say probably. Yeah. Pretty sure.
But she supported you.
Yes.
Okay, that's
100% supported me, and I say guys were on my team. The guys she knew, she definitely supported. But to your point, talking about TJ, another guy. That was another guy that coming out Ohio State that year, and then watching his process once that bowl game ended where they lost in the national title game, going through the combine, and I remember his interview after he got drafted. It was an emotional interview. Obviously, getting drafted first pick, wasn't first overall, but first pick for the Texans, top 15 pick. And I think it was a question, or not a question, but he alluded to kind of how people, I guess, he heard some doubters out there about him and his game style as a quarterback. And I could hear it in his voice, and like I said, the emotion. He had tears coming. I'm like, he's about to have a good year, because he has a chip on his shoulder. It wasn't the chip like, I'm saying, I'm mad because of doubters. He said it in a way that it was cool, calm, and collective, where people didn't realize what they're about to, like other players, other teams that are in their conference or in their division, the AFC South, they're about to deal with a young man that wants to prove a point because something ticked him off coming out of Ohio State or going to the combine, coming out of the combine, that scouts that he overheard, and he said, that's not me. I want to paint another picture. I want to create my own narrative. And I was like, I'm not surprised at CJ. That was awesome. And so right now, him, Jordan Love too, in that space of when you don't have that, when you get ticked off, because I was that kid too.
Were you?
I was a third rounder. They had a big chip on my shoulder, and I know what it sounds like when somebody is not felt like they got to respect you. Not saying you got to just, no. Just say that's a good player, but when they don't get that, watch out. Watch out.
And you think that's what led to such a successful career?
It did, because when you have
just added extra work ethic, right?
Exactly. Like, you're already motivated.
Yeah.
CJ, Jordan. I mean, go back years ago. Same a couple years after me, a guy by the name of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He was a
Heard of
guy
him once or twice.
That knew that he could play in the NFL, but was so much doubted. And then obviously for him, just like myself, he got drafted late. I got drafted late. I come out of my pro day, I run a 4.17 and a 4.18 in my 40. So that should most likely put me in the top 31 of picks, right?
You would think.
Pretty
speedy back out of Nebraska, two-time national champ,
two-time
Doug Walker
national
finalist.
Exactly. But I go third round. So I'm like, I say the last person that went 4-1 was a guy by the name of Bo Jackson. He played another sport. And you tell me I'm not – oh, okay. I had a list of teams mentally that I just checked off. Every time I got a chance to play against them, I played hard against them. And it's like, you didn't pick me, now you're going to find out why you should have picked me. So for Jordan, for CJ, for any player that has that chip on that shoulder going into the draft and then coming out, I see them real quick. I'm like, they're going to have a good season. So-and-so's going to have a good – everybody like, why do you think that? I said, don't worry about it. Just watch.
Just the chip, man. The chip changes you. Ahman Green with me here at Big Ten Media Days on Mr. Relevant.
Yep.
Ahman, we were talking off the air a little bit. You're a big video gamer. That's always been your thing. And obviously,
Director of esports.
Where we're at now.
So I'm at University of Nebraska now.
Okay, you are still there.
I was at Lakeland University.
Yep.
Shout out to the Muskies of Lakeland and Plymouth, Wisconsin. Yep. That was my team.
Just outside of Sheboygan, right?
Yep.
And now you're back down south, and you're still working with Nebraska.
Yeah, I live in Houston during the summer breaks and Christmas breaks, stuff like that.
Gotcha, I gotcha. Now, obviously, a big video game dropped recently.
Yes.
EA Sports College Football 2025, and you and I were comparing notes because I've been testing players as well.
Yeah.
What's your overall? Everybody knows.
Everybody knows their rating.
Everybody.
So I talked to Ty Robinson, Ben Scott, and Isaac Gilbert for Nebraska. I didn't get to. I had Zach or Leachy, the tight end from Iowa. I didn't get a chance to ask him, but all the Nebraska players, all knew their ratings. And even Ben Scott, he said, yes, I'm rated a 78. He did that. He's like, so that tells me he wants to be higher. And I say, hey, you talk to us. I talk to your sports information people. They'll let EA know. I said, just play better, because that's how
play better.
Because, they have the person on the sidelines. I know for the NFL, for Madden, it's Chad Johnson.
Now it is, yeah.
It's the player. He's the player rating advisor or something like that. So I'm pretty sure if it's not him, it's somebody else for college football that then watches the games and then say week by week, oh, yeah, this guy's ranked higher, and so you bump him up.
When you were in the league, were you like keeping an eye on your Madden stats?
100%.
Really?
I had a conversation with Robert Ferguson, that we got out of Texas A&M. So he played Madden a lot, and he comes to me right after a practice. Hey, G, man, I was playing with you the other day on Madden. He said, what's up with the fourth quarter, man? I'm like, what you mean? Man, they got you fumbling the ball every other down, every fourth quarter. I'm like, oh, no. So I was like, at the time, we had a great player guy contact from EA, Sandy Sandoval. Shout out to him if he's still around. But he's not with EA no more, but we used to call him. That was my guy. I call Sandy up. I call Sandy up. I said, Sandy, we got a problem. He said, Ahman, look, I already know. He said, what is it this time? Is it your speed, your acceleration? I said, no, it's my ball carrying right now. You got me fumbling the ball in the fourth quarter. That means you trying to say I'm not clutch? Like, come on. I've done a lot more than that. So we'll go back and forth. So this is a funny thing. I love it, obviously, now, especially now being so far removed, but still seeing players react the same way I did.
Yeah.
Going on to YouTube, and I say if you delight yourself right now, go to YouTube and type in NFL. I say anything less, so 2023, 2022, 2021, and type in. I say for one particular was the San Diego Chargers 2 years ago. They interviewed those players and asked them. It was EA came in and asked, what do you think of your rating? And some players were like, you're good. You saw the other was like, man, why are you making me look like trash? Like, they were not happy. So it's just funny to see that a lot of guys at the time I was playing weren't playing video games. Now guys are. And so for the guys with me, I was like, just play, man. I say, but you're like a 59. You're like trash on the game.
Trash.
They're like, what? I'm like, I play it every night. So you better get on it, man. So it's just different now where a lot more players are playing, and just for that video is just it's priceless.
That is amazing.
Priceless.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know if I've seen that one. Have you gotten into the college football game?
Yeah, I have been. They have Ultimate Team, so same like Madden.
Yeah.
They have the Road to Glory, all that. I don't get into all that. I say I might do Ultimate Team only because one big reason. I got to pat my back a little bit. I got asked to be in the game. So
really?
I believe my card will pop out on Ultimate Team or somewhere in Road to Glory coming up soon. I don't know when. They didn't tell me when, but I'm in the game for this year. So that's one reason. And then I'm a gamer. I got to teach. I got to coach it eventually and talk about it to my players. And I'm going through all the little attributes they have, like for Madden. With Pat Mahomes, he's a gunslinger quality. He has that detail that if you activate it, then all the stuff you see in real life, his sidearm, his big, he could throw them balls in the game. And so they have those little attributes in this game right now. And some of the ratings for the players, like I've mentioned with the Huskers, some are right on point, and some like, oh man,
come on,
I gotta get that rating up. And so that's the part. That's what I do and love it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I always am curious to ask about the director of esports role now in Nebraska. So you mentioned, coaching. Coaching video games, I imagine, a little bit different than coaching football.
A little bit different. It's a little.
But are there similarities?
There's a lot more similarities than what people may think. It's obviously in terms of what we doing on the I go to a whiteboard. My assistant and I, Ryan Tan, we will sit down. We're breaking down like from sport. Well, I do more of the sports games. He does more of the FPS games because he's actually a former pro. He played for I believe Fnatic, and he did Dota. He did CS:GO 1, and a little bit of StarCraft. So we have programs just like a training regiment for quarterback accuracy, where we will say, hey, quarterback, you throw the ball 100 times a day, and then after you do the 100 times to make sure you hit targets. We have that with our shooter games like Valorant, Overwatch 2, Call of Duty, Halo, and Halo Infinite, and a few others. So they go through a FPS regimen of targeting, tracking with their eyes, reflexes with their hands, warm-up drills, and everything. So it's really not much. And I've been doing this for, obviously for what I'm doing, I've been doing it for 5 years. I already knew this. But for what everybody else thinks of it and don't maybe not know enough about it, I
had no idea.
It's all the same. I mean, it's repetitive movements that we got to train.
Wow.
It's consistency from team strategy, having play calling ready. I mean, it's little in the shooter games. You got maps. You got to understand. You got to know the name, the area of the maps.
Yeah.
Top, mid, whatever the name is. You got to make sure everybody knows that on the team. And so when you're talking, everybody knows where to focus on, where to attack, or where you need help or something like that. So we got to make sure the players, one, get to know each other.
Yeah.
We got to build that same camaraderie amongst everybody. And the really cool thing, and sometimes the struggle thing, is we're co-ed teams. So we got guys and girls playing together, and we already know what that stigma sometimes is like. Where some of the young men don't, they kind of like, why are we on? This is the way it is. This is Title IX. This is college. So this is where your world starts to change, and now you're learning how to be an adult, because you got to learn how to be around everybody and work with everybody,
right?
Not just be comfortable with all your buddies, all guys. You got to be able to, be very social. And so that's what a part of gaming I like, because not only are they becoming better gamers, we're going to make them better people at the end of the day.
That's awesome, dude.
Yep. So having fun.
You're busy as heck.
Very busy, yes. That is not an understatement. I'm super busy. I'm like, I cut this trip short so I can get home a day early so I can rest for a day, because I'm going out to the West Coast, out to San Diego, because the little kid in me, I'm a comic book fan. And I'm going out to San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
When's that, next week?
That's Friday.
Oh, no kidding.
I guess they started today. So preview night.
You were leaving Indy. You're going back to Houston. You're sleeping, and then you're flying to San Diego?
On Friday morning or Friday afternoon. I'll fly in just one. Thank God it's just one stop. So straight there from Houston. So it's a 2-hour flight. I'll be there till Sunday. Then I'm done for a while.
Goodness.
Yes. So
that is
got to have a fun, because school, man, we got I basically got a month
left. You got
left.
a month.
So I got to get in.
And then it's coaching season.
Exactly. Teaching and coaching. So I'm teaching a class, Intro to Esports, which is similar to
So you're a college professor now, too?
College professor.
A radio host.
Radio host, podcaster, gamer, husband, grandfather, father, what else? Keep it going. The list goes on and what I do. But what I enjoy doing, too. Those are all the things. I'm doing all the things I wanted to be. I wanted to be a dad. I mean, now I'm a former player, but at the time I loved playing the football, the sport. One of the sports that I loved, the other sport, was baseball. My dad always would always argue he's a better baseball player. You thought he was good at football, see your mom play baseball. And I was like, you thought that? I was like, really?
What position did you play?
I played outfield. I was center, left, and right.
Nice. Well, I guess with the speed.
With the speed, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what kept me out of the infield, because I wanted to play first base. But they like, Ahman, we need that. We need you in the outfield. You got to catch those fly balls. I'm like, dang it, coach. I was like, I'm left-handed first base. Boom, boom, boom. He's like, no. Now, if you tear a hamstring, then okay, we'll put you on first. But
yeah.
Get yourself. He's like,
you got to go run, buddy.
You got to go catch the fly ball. So I'm like, all right, coach. I'm the team player.
What would you clock for 40 these days?
Right now, I was just asked this. I'll go sub 4. I will go, or sub 5. I'll say about 4.8, 4.7, somewhere in there.
You're smoking me, so
yeah.
You got that.
Yeah,
you get that. Whatever that means.
A 1.5 hamstring. I tore one about 5 years ago.
What the hell were you doing 5 years ago?
Because I was sprinting.
Oh my!
Yeah, and I clipped one off, and now it's half a hamstring, so I got 1.5 hamstring. Right now, so yeah, no competition sprint. I jump roping, riding a bike, Peloton style. Yeah, that's it.
Man. AG, you're the best, dude. Always a pleasure catching up with you, my man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
for sure.
you. That's Ahman Green, Packers all-time leading rusher. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll share some observations from Big Ten Media Days and wrap up the show. It's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf. I'm back at the great Door County Distillery here in Carlsbad with my friend Rob from Door County Distillery. We're making, it seems like a summer drink here, Rob, a Cherry Cosmo.
Exactly. Just our twist on a regular Cosmo. Obviously Door County, so have to stick some cherry into it.
Have to stick some cherry into it with the cherry vodka from Door County Distillery, made with local cherries, right?
Yep, made with the Montmorency cherries we're known for here in Door County.
I love it. Let's get to it. What do we got to do?
All right, so first, obviously the cherry vodka. We're gonna add 3 ounces of that. Next we'll go to triple sec, 1 ounce of that.
Need it for a Cosmo.
This is actually just cranberry juice, 1 ounce of that, half an ounce of the lime.
The Boston Shake, I've
Make sure
learned.
it's, ready to go.
That's such a cool little trick.
Shake it up. Shake it till you feel like it's shaking while we're on. Strainer.
I like that color. That looks like summer. Cherry Cosmo from Door County Distillery. Cheers, Rob.
Cheers.
Tastes like summer to me.
Visit DoorCountyDistillery.com to find the retailer nearest you, as well as a huge list of unique cocktail recipes. That's DoorCountyDistillery.com. DoorCountyDistillery.com is the website for that. Thanks again to Ahman Green, Packers all-time leading rusher, 2-time national champ at Nebraska back in the late 90s.
for popping on. It's like an annual tradition now that Ahman Green and I catch up here in Indianapolis. He's the best. Always appreciate his insights on everything Packers and all the in-betweens. We always go all over the place with him. But, dude, he's so busy. Daily radio in Lincoln, Nebraska. Now professor on top of director of esports at Nebraska. We didn't really get to it, but he's still doing some stuff with the Houston Texans Alumni Association. He's everywhere. So love to see that. All right, day 2 underway here at Big Ten Football Media Days 2024 at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. The Badgers' time to shine was yesterday here in Indianapolis. They were represented on day 1 by linebacker Jake Chaney, offensive tackle Jack Nelson, and star safety Hunter Wohler, as well as Coach Luke Fickell. And athletic director Chris McIntosh was here as well yesterday, making the rounds, shaking hands and talking to people was Chris McIntosh. I had a good 15-minute catch-up with the athletic director, Chris McIntosh, which you can find on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel. And we really flew around, right? Like, we talked renovations and stadium upgrades, facility upgrades, which has been a big thing during his tenure. But we also talked about expectations for Luke Fickell in year 2. You don't make that higher without the expectation of eventually competing for a national championship. And with the playoff expanded, obviously all eyes are on that 12-team playoff. Now, is it obtainable? Is it expected that the Wisconsin Badgers will be one of the top 12 teams in the country in 2024 when you have teams like USC, Oregon, and Alabama on the schedule? Probably not. But as Luke Fickell continues to build in recruiting and the transfer portal and the NIL fund, things are definitely trending in the right directions for the Badgers, at least according to athletic director Chris McIntosh. I thought, Jack Nelson, the offensive tackle from Stoughton, the fifth-year senior, was really good on saying, hey, I didn't have to stay another year, but I decided to. We've got unfinished business. I want to leave everything out there for one more year for my guys, which I thought was really interesting from Jack Nelson, the Badgers offensive tackle. From linebacker Jake Chaney, he talked about the transition quite a bit. From Paul Christ, who is an offensive-minded head coach, to Luke Fickell, who's a defensive-minded head coach, and how that changes things and how that changes the head coach's expectations of your unit. And I thought that was really good from Jake Chaney. So all those interviews to come, we'll post a couple of them in the podcast feed on Friday. And overall, Luke Fickell, his big message yesterday was nobody's going to decide what a successful season looks like for us in 2024. We're going to decide that as we go on. Things are going to adjust, right? So I think he understands it's only year 2 of the rebuild. It's only year 2 of the implementation of the Fickell era. And this thing might take time because year 1 wasn't super pretty for a lot of it. They ultimately ended up getting to a bowl game. They lose the bowl game to LSU. But they get to the ReliaQuest Bowl, which isn't a half bad bowl game, and now they look to build on that here in 2024. And Hunter, as we stand on July 24th, I imagine you're maintaining your stance, Wisconsin over Alabama, week 3 of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a winnable game for this team. I think they're a 9-win team. I think they're really going to surprise a lot of people. And I expect, especially the addition of Alex Grinch to the defensive coaching staff. He's probably one of the best defensive minds in college football. I think that this defense is going to take a step forward back to what we expect out of them, and that will really help out this offense. I'm super excited for this team. I think that they're going to be a lot better, and more importantly, we talk about it with Jordan Love, they're going to be a lot more consistent on offense, which was an issue last year, and I think part of that was just the Braylon Allen situation. And needing to kind of get him the ball and run your offense through a guy like that who doesn't fit what Phil Longo wants to be doing. So I think with Braylon now into the NFL, I think this offense is going to look a lot more like what we thought it would with this Dairy Raid system.
Dairy Raid. I'm with it. Dairy Raid. I don't know that I've heard that.
Yeah, there's a number of fans that have kind of tried to dub it that because it's an air raid offense that Phil Longo was bringing from North Carolina, but why not have some fun, put the Wisconsin twist on it, and call it the Dairy Raid?
Yeah. Interesting. I think I like it. I'm digesting that one. I think I'm good with it. Dairy Raid. We'll try it. We'll let it ride for this season, and we'll come to a full agreement on that once the season begins. But overall, I thought Wisconsin did a nice job. The expectations are certainly there for this season, right? They got to be a bowl team at least, and hopefully they have a 9-10 win season. I think that's the goal here in year 2 of Luke Fickell. But as the recruiting classes continue to get better and better for upcoming seasons, I think the ultimate goal is this team will be in a college football playoff position for many years, starting in a few years. But patience is a virtue, and I thought Chris McIntosh had some good insight on that as well. Some other takeaways from Big Ten Media Day just overall. It's still taking some getting used to. When we walked in yesterday, we walked down a hallway here over my right shoulder down the tunnel in the opposite corner. And in that corner, they have mannequins dressed up in all of the uniforms of all Big Ten teams. Last year when I was here, of course, 14 uniforms. This year when I arrived, 18 uniforms. The first uniform I saw, because they're in alphabetical order, was Wisconsin. And then after that, it was Washington. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then you see the bright green Oregon uniform. And oh, yeah. You know, as much as we've talked about it, I just kind of forgot that existed. And, you know, it's just funny how this has expanded. And, Hunter, I saw you just texted me a quote from Matt Rule, the Nebraska head coach, while we were chatting with Ahman Green. Said he kind of views the Big Ten as the NFL of college football. He views this as the best league, and they should have 4 teams in the playoff field every year. I think there could be years where that is the case. Think about the Oregons and the Washingtons and the Ohio States and the Michigans and the Penn States. I mean, there's going to be some really, really good programs in the Big Ten this year, including the reigning national champion Michigan Wolverines, who took a small step back, but they should still be a contender, and they should still be in the conversation. I think Penn State's going to have a really good year. I think Ohio State and Oregon are the 2 betting favorites for the national championship, so clearly they have some high hopes in 2024 as well. But this is going to be a good conference. But I think the overall idea of 18 teams is still taking some getting used to for me. But college football season fast approaching as NFL training camps are underway. The last 3 teams reporting for training camp today. So we are full go for football season, which is exciting, really exciting. But otherwise, beef jerky galore. Old Trapper beef jerky galore here at Lucas Oil Stadium. They give that out every year. So there you go. Those are my takeaways from Lucas Oil Stadium here in Indianapolis. All right, I've got a little bit of a dilemma, Hunter. We haven't talked about my cornhole league in a while. But it is, as you know, is every Wednesday night. And today is Wednesday.
Yeah.
I am currently in Indiana.
Yeah. What time is first throw?
I texted the organizer and the owner of the bar. Hey, buddy, we're scheduled for 6:45. Any chance you can move that to 7:30 for me? He goes, yeah, I got you. Move to 7:30. So I have until 7:30 to get to Whitefish Bay. It is 2:30 Eastern time. I get an hour back on my drive. But essentially what I'm trying to get at, Hunter, is I will be going through Chicago during rush hour at this rate. I don't know if I'm going to make 7:30.
Yeah. I think you might be taking the no-show L here.
The issue with that is, though, I took one last week due to the RNC security parameters.
Ooh.
I couldn't get out, so we forfeited last week. I don't want to forfeit 2 weeks in a row.
Okay, but what was your record?
We're doing all right. I think we're in 9th place in the league of 12 teams.
Okay. I think you guys are in tank for a draft pick here. I don't think this really matters. If you're in 9th place of 12 teams, you're just looking at draft position. It's okay to take the L.
Don't do that. Don't do that. We have fallen to last place, actually. I take it back.
See?
After last week.
See, all this does is help. It helps your partner get a better partner.
Ooh, I didn't know that. We are not in last place for points scored, though. We are in second to last place for that. So we're bad. All right. That's a blow right here at the end of the show. All right. You learn something new every day. We learn something new every day. It's time now to wrap up the show as we always do. What we learned. Hunter, what'd you learn?
Well, I'm going to keep it with the Big Ten theme. I saw this graphic, and I don't know how to feel about it, so I'm going to show it to you as well here on the video stream. This is a graphic of the most all-time wins without a national championship in college football. And at the top of the list was 738 all-time wins, the Wisconsin Badgers. Number 2 is 737 Virginia Tech. I don't know how to feel about this. I learned this stat, and I never knew this, and I don't know if I should be proud of the Badgers for like having all those wins or feel like maybe we should have a national title at this point.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you rather Wisconsin only win 8 games this year and Virginia Tech win 10, so they overtake us as the number 1 team? Would that make you feel better?
No, because even being in like the top 5 of the ranking, like that's just like they should have had a title in 2012. Those stupid Hail Marys, they should have been playing for a title then. That was their best shot to do it. Maybe the like 99 Rose Bowl team.
Well, as I stare to my left,
like,
Hunter, they have the Big Ten champions banners, and that was the I believe that was the last time the Badgers won the Big Ten was 2012. So
yeah, I want to see them get a national title. I think I would be happier.
It'll be a few years.
I know. But of all of the sports teams I cheer for, I think the only team that would make me happier winning a championship would be the Cowboys.
Wow.
Like, I could take Marquette never winning a national title if it meant Wisconsin football got a national title. Like, I would totally be okay with that.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, here's what I learned on my drive to Indiana, Hunter. The Wisconsin DOT does a good job. On the highway signs, they usually put very funny messages, make you laugh. Illinois, on the other hand, not so good. I saw it throughout the entire time I was in the state, within state lines. Every board said the same thing, and I didn't understand it. I Googled it, and nobody has an answer of why it says this. The signs say, it's okay to ask for directions. And I was wondering to myself at 4 a.m. as I'm driving through the state of Illinois, thinking, when was it ever not okay to ask for directions? I can ask Siri. I can ask a gas station attendant. I can ask anybody. When has it ever not been okay? That's the part I don't understand.
I feel like that's an old like boomer and Gen X thing of like guys don't want to ask for directions. Guys don't need to ask for directions. I have no problem with it. If I don't know where I'm going, I'm going to ask. Illinois is a weird state. Like it's just it kind of sucks. Like other than the Blackhawks being there, don't really care for it. We could give it to Canada. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Fair enough. Oh my God. I was on Reddit earlier doing research as to what this it's okay to ask for directions sign means, and the top comment says, "I slowed down and rolled my window down, but everybody just sped past me, honking furiously." Maybe I should try that in rush hour this afternoon. Good stuff. All right, that'll do it for us today. A big thanks to Hunter Vaughn, Tiny Hands, for running the show as always. Big thanks to Packers all-time leading rusher Ahman Green for stomping by here at 2024 Big Ten Football Media Days. And he's also, let's not forget, 2-time national champion back in the 90s with Nebraska. 3rd-round pick. I love that. My favorite part of the story that Ahman Green just told us, that he would call up the Matting ratings adjuster and say, hey, dude, my speed's only a 95. You got to give me a 97. And he would. Pretty darn good story from Ahman Green. Thanks to him for joining. We will have no live show Friday, but we will have a new podcast episode for you in the feed. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Mr. Irrelevant will be the first result that pops up. That'll do it for us from Indianapolis. We'll talk to you on Friday. This has been Mr. Irrelevant, presented by Door County Distillery, live from Indianapolis. Peace.